Awakening, a Jane the Killer story.
Damn that monster. It's his fault I'm in this hellhole. If it weren't for his murderous crimes, I would be free with my family, not rotting away in the strange white room where no one answers my pleas. Even now, as I yell for them to release me, to let me stop Jeff, they ignorantly walk by the small window on my door. I honestly can't even begin to fathom why I was locked up here in the first place. All I ever wanted to do was stop that fiend, that evil monster. Yet I remain trapped here, unable to. Do they not realize the danger they are all in? Jeff is still out there, claiming more and more victims each day while they sit around with their thumbs up their asses.
I release a sigh and walk to the small barred window of my prison to gaze out at the people meandering below me.
Are these people all mental?
Why are they wearing the same outfits? I stare at them quietly for a while before shrugging it off, deciding that they must be members of a cult or something. Growing tired of the view, I make my way back to take a seat on the small dingy mattress in the corner.
I need to find a way out of here. I am the only one who is able to bring an end to Jeff the Killer. And how ironic it is that it's all thanks to the wicked bastard himself. Almost a sort of poetic justice, really. I laugh quietly thinking about how he set his own demise into motion when he murdered my family. He of course attempted to off me as well. But obviously, it didn't work out quite as he had planned. Oh no, it backfired miserably on the poor fool. When he set me ablaze, I was reborn. I am the demon that will bring an end to his reign of terror. I am Jane the Savior, and there is nothing he can do to prevent me from attaining my revenge. I still cannot fathom how my captors could even dare to call me a murderer. Jane the Killer. That's what they have started to call me. How dare they? I scoff and lean back against the wall. I am no killer. In fact, I am not able to stomach even the sight of blood after all the things I have had to witness. The countless gallons of blood I have seen shed. The numerous mangled faces of corpses, and the insane rantings scrawled in blood on the walls of the poor victims' houses. Having become enraged from reliving my memories, I rise up quickly from the dirty mattress and storm to the bolted door. In a fit of rage, I beat on it as hard as I can muster and scream, "Let me out of here, you fuckers! Do you not realize that Jeff is out there killing more innocent people while you keep me locked away?" While I scream in vain, a woman in a long white jacket drifts past the small inset window. I yell out in frustration and kick the door to no avail before finally growing tired and take to pacing back and forth. This has become my daily routine. I have been here for what feels like weeks. It is becoming unbearable, and I do not know how much longer I can take it. I have finally reached my limit. I will break free. My eyes scan the room frantically before resting upon the small wooden chair in the corner of the room. I rush over and grab it by the leg, smashing it against the small window of the bolted door, shattering it loudly. Quickly, I work my arm through the small opening and feverishly feel around for the door handle. My fingers grasp the cool metal, and I fling the door open before making a mad dash into the hallway. The woman in the white jacket begins to chase me, along with her lackeys, but I am too quick for them. Chuckling as I round the corner, I am unaware of the man gaining on me, until suddenly I feel a sharp pain in my neck. He grabs a hold of me and tightly injects the rest of whatever poison it is in the needle, and I begin to black out. As I wake up, I become aware of the fact that I am in a strange jacket
that keeps my arms bound tightly against my chest, and I begin to struggle with it.
Jane, please stop. You will only hurt yourself if you keep this up.
Startled, I look around the room to see where the voice is coming from. It's her, that damn woman in the white jacket. Let me go. You must release me. Do you not know? I was cut off by her stern sigh.
Jane, you need to stop with these delusions. This Jeff the Killer is not real. He does not exist.
How could she so openly deny the fact that he is real? Did she not see the newspapers depicting his crimes? Or was she just that fucking stupid? I angrily glared at her and spoke in a low, guttural voice. You're working for him, aren't you, you traitorous bitch? Her features fell, as if she was almost saddened by what I had to say. She frowned and looked at her clipboard before speaking.
I did not want to do things this way, Jane. I was hoping that given time and treatment, you would see the truth on your own. But it does not seem to matter how many medications we put you on or how many sessions we have together.
She somberly reaches into the bag, resting against the chair she sits in, and pulls out a manila envelope. I look at it curiously, wondering just what she meant by medications and sessions. I do not recall ever meeting with this particular woman before today. I gaze off as if become lost within my own thoughts. She opens the envelope before pulling out a few pictures.
Jane, I want you to look at these. Does this look familiar to you?
She questions as she holds out a picture of a quaint-looking home. My eyes widen in shock. That's my house. Or at least, it used to be before Jeff killed my family and set it ablaze. She sighs and holds out another picture, this one depicting a horrible murder scene, blood caking the walls and floor.
Jeff did not do this to your family. Think, Jane. Think back to the day it happened. You need to remember the truth.
I stare at the picture, my eyes welling up with tears as she keeps her gaze locked onto my face. Why would you show me this? I shout as I close my eyes tightly to escape the horrible images. After putting the picture away, she looks at me with a strange expression before going quiet. I sniffle and stare at the ceiling with a pained expression as she begins to speak again.
Jeff did not do this to your family. Think, Jane. Think back to the day it happened. You need to remember the truth.
I wince as I get a flashback of my friends and I giggling and talking as we drew him in our art class. Confused by the sudden image, I cry out and start to fight against the jacket restraining my movement.
He did not murder your family, Jane. Think about it. How could somebody who does not exist kill others? It simply isn't possible. You need to remember who is truly responsible for their deaths.
She continues to bore into me with her cold eyes as I thrash harder and harder, fighting the countless images that begin to flood my mind. Suddenly, everything goes blank. I gasped loudly as I sat up in my bed in my room. I looked around my surroundings while panting heavily, confused as to what just happened. Fuck, I stuttered. Was it all just a dream? I remained there for a while before finally working up the nerve to get up and peek my head out the door. I listened quietly to the rest of the house and heard my mother and older sister speaking in the kitchen downstairs. I let out a great sigh of relief before going to get ready for school. While doing so, I recalled my nightmare. Jeff the Killer had broken into my room and had woken me up only to tell me to go to sleep. I had screamed in vain and he proceeded to kill me in the most brutal way. I chuckled nervously as I applied a few layers of dark makeup around my eyes. Wait till my friends hear about this one. It will totally outdo Sally's Jeff dream. Finishing my makeup, I slipped into my favorite black dress and combat boots before grabbing my bag and heading downstairs for breakfast. Oh, great. The freak decided to join us. You going for the raccoon look today?
My sister pointed out my eyeliner as she made the snotty remark. Oh, fuck you, Lily. Not everyone wants to be a silicone-ridden Barbie doll like you. I glared at her as my mother sighed. Can't you two at least pretend to like each other? She murmured before leaving the room to start the laundry. Lily rolled her eyes and finished making her breakfast before looking back to me. Maybe if you didn't read those stupid Jake the Murderer stories, you would have more time to dress like a proper woman and not like a corpse. I slammed my fist down on the table, causing her to jump. It's Jeff the killer, and they aren't stories. He is real, I angrily yelled. She crossed her arms and gave me a catty look as she spoke. There you go again with your imaginary boyfriends. Just shut the fuck up and get a life, Jane. This is why no one talks to you at school except those fucking freaks you call friends. No one wants to date the weird-ass girl who crushes on a made-up dude who murders people. I cut her off by knocking everything off the table as I got up, sending it shattering to the floor. Shut the fuck up, Lily. I have had enough of your bullshit lies. He is real, and I wish he would just fucking kill you. She looked at me with a startled expression. As I slowly walked towards her, she began to back away, giving one last remark as she tried to look intimidating. If he was real, he could kill me. Why doesn't he do it now? Oh wait, that's right. He's fake. I screamed in anger, grabbing the large kitchen knife off the countertop before driving it into her neck without hesitation. She looked at me in horror as she fell to the floor and made a soft gurgling sound while blood oozed from the puncture wound. I gave a Cheshire grin before stabbing her repeatedly, over and over until she stopped moving. I laughed and licked her blood from my lips before going into the laundry room to confront my mother as to why she never once stood up for me. She had her back to me, and I shuddered with anticipation as I crept up behind her silently as she sang along to her horrible Christian rock music. I quietly cupped my hand over her mouth and slit her throat, deciding I would be better off without her and her favoritism. I released her from my grip and let her head slam against the counter before her lifeless body collapsed to the ground. I stood there, perfectly still, for what seemed like hours, but in reality was only a few moments before turning to leave the laundry room. I shuddered slightly at the sensation of my mother's and sister's blood running down my fingertips as I made my way upstairs toward the master bedroom where my father was most likely still sleeping. Gripping the handle of the blade tightly in my hand, I crept inside the threshold silently towards my father's sleeping figure under the covers. I knelt down beside the bed, listening to the soft snoring as I stared at him, wide-eyed and smiling from ear to ear. Eventually, I grew tired of just sitting there awaiting my father's awakening, so I stumbled over to the window. Just as I was going to look down at the street below, I saw him, gazing back at me intently, just on the other side of the glass. I smiled brightly. I put my bloodied hand against its cool surface, and he did the same. I knew Jeff was real. And now there he was, standing right before my very eyes, looking at me with a loving expression. But something was off. Where was his beautifully maniacal grin I knew and loved? He gave me an expectant smile and tilted his head side to side as I became aware of what I had to do. I pressed the knife against the glass, and he somehow managed to grab it. I watched with admiration as he slipped the blade into the corner of his mouth and jaggedly sliced his cheeks open from ear to ear. I cackled darkly as I stared at him through the window. After completing his smile,
I heard a sleepy groan alerting me that my father had just started to come to. I turned slightly, looking back at him as he started to speak.
Oh, good morning, sweetie. Why haven't you left for school yet?
His words stuck in his throat and his eyes widened in horror.
Oh, God, Jane.
He practically whimpered as he rushed over to me.
What the fuck happened to you? Who cut your face?
He tugged his shirt off quickly and tried to stop the bleeding from my mutilated cheeks. I looked at the window from the corner of my eyes, and while I did so, I noticed that Jeff had vanished. Pure rage bubbled up inside of me, knowing that my father had scared Jeff away from me when we had finally united. I tightened my grip around the blade and shoved my father away before quickly rising to my feet. He looked up at me with confusion and shock for a moment as I stood there, shuddering violently.
Jane?
His voice quivering as he spoke. My head flopped to the side as I stared down at him. You know what, Daddy? I paused for a moment before practically growling. You should fucking go to sleep. I lunged at him and stabbed him repeatedly in the face, cutting away chunk upon chunk of flesh and bone. Eventually, I ran out of steam and got off of his mangled corpse, just standing above him, panting heavily as I tried to regain my breath. Slowly, I start to become aware of my actions. I realize that I am back in the white room, with the doctor staring intently at me. I finally know who had murdered my family in cold blood. I was the monster all along. There never really was a monstrous, wide-eyed intruder. Beings like this do not exist in reality. Monsters live in the dark inside of our own beings. What have I done? I scream as I break down and sob loudly at the realization of my crimes. My family. I fucking killed them. The doctor frowns and looks at me with sadness in her eyes as she speaks softly.
I'm glad you finally remembered, Jane. This is a very important step to your recovery.
She sighs softly as she retrieves a photograph of my burning home and shows me.
Do you remember what you did next?
She asks as I gaze at it weakly, barely able to see through my tears. I doused the entire house in gasoline. I whimper softly before continuing, including myself, before I set it ablaze. Suddenly, I feel her warm hand rest over mine, squeezing it gently in an effort to try and comfort me.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Jane. This horrible mistake is not entirely your fault. I know it's difficult for you to understand this, but you're sick, Jane. Your parents should have seen the signs of schizophrenia and taken you into a physician to be evaluated. But you don't have to be this way forever. With proper medication and time, you will recover. Maybe not to the way you were before this tragedy, but to some state of normality.
She smiles sadly as she unbuckles the restraints on the straitjacket that kept my arms pinned to my chest. I sit up, looking out the small window to my left as I sniffle and wipe at my nose. It calmed me slightly. I always liked the windows in the exam room. They didn't have that dingy tint that my little one did, and the view wasn't broken up by those claustrophobic bars.
You should rest, Jane. After the breakthrough we've had today, you must be exhausted.
She states quietly as she lays me down, gently tucking me into the bed.
We can continue more in the morning.
I cut her off quickly. I don't want to fucking continue. I want to die. I don't deserve to live after what I've done. Bitter tears stream down my face as I glare at her with sadness in my eyes. The doctor sighs and tries to tuck me back in as I struggle and smack at her hands and continue to rant. Finally having enough, she forces me down, pinning me to the bed as she tries to calm me.
Jane, you need to sleep.
My vision blurs as I look up at her in horror. Her frown,
morphing into a wide, bloody grin.
Go to sleep, Jane.
My eyes widen in horror as she completely dissolves away, leaving that hell spawn in her place. I scream angrily as I begin to thrash around. You did this to me, Jeff! I am going to fucking massacre you! I kick him in the chest, sending him flying back. I jump up as he holds himself, trying to regain his breath as I rip the confining jacket off and wrap it around his throat, pinning him to the wall as I constrict the fabric around his airway. He chuckles darkly and struggles with me in a panic as I strangle him. Eventually, he weakens and stops trying to make me release my grip on the jacket. I let go and grab handfuls of his hair on either side of his head and jerk it to the side, easily snapping his neck. I slowly fall to the ground and lean against his corpse while it slides to the floor. After a short while, I got up and wandered to the window to enjoy the soft winter sun, reveling in the fact that he was finally gone. But he wasn't. There, on the other side of the glass, smiling back at me was his fucking face. Anger boiled up inside of me for a brief moment before he spoke.
Don't you see, Jane? You are me. I was created in your image.
He chuckled and brought a hand up to his cheek, sticking a finger into the slit there. And oddly enough, I found myself doing the same, feeling the moist warmth of my mouth on my index finger. I frowned in confusion as he continued.
You carved your smile into my reflection. It wasn't there before, was it? Remember?
I dropped my hand to my side and my voice shook softly. I'm you? He nodded and smiled darkly.
And I am you. We are one.
I felt my stomach churn at this realization and looked down from the reflection. I am sick, and I see that now. And I realize how incredibly mental I have been. How I denied everything, even though it was right in front of me all along. I created Jeff in my mind, making him an alter ego after hearing his stories about how he killed those bullies and his family. He had freed himself, and even though I never wanted to hurt anyone, I envied that about him. Stepping away from the window for a moment, I fight back tears. It's almost ironic that the person I have hated and wanted to act out my revenge upon for all these years has been with me all along. Slowly, I turn back to the window and manage to pry it open as I stare down at the gardens of the mental institution 8 stories below me. I smile sadly as I climb over the windowsill, my feet dangling below me as I sit upon it, letting out one final exhale before pushing myself from the building. A loud crack echoes through the air, silencing every other noise as my body impacts with the ground. My vision blackens, and I give one last smile as I barely form my last sentence. I finally killed Jeff before my life slipped away.